This is Ken Thomas,
And I'm Gabe Norris.
and we're with the Connect Ministries podcast.
If you're a church leader or a pastor who's ready to become more effective at meeting new people and assimilating them into the life of your church, this is the podcast for you.
Gabe, let's get started with today's conversation.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Connect Ministries podcast. We're super excited to be here today with two of my friends in ministry, two people who will be joining us at the Connect conference, Mr. Mike and Jay Iris from the Elements Group. We're super excited that they're going to be joining us at the Connect conference, and we're excited to introduce them to you here today. Before we jump into it, I'd love for you to hear from both of them. So Mike, Jay Iris, if y'all could just introduce yourselves to the Connect Ministries podcast world.
For sure. I'll go first. I'll jump in. My name is J. Iris Matthew Copeland. I reside in Cincinnati, Ohio, born and raised, never left. I spent about 5 years on a church called Crossroads staff doing creative work. I worked a lot with our speaking pastors on their messages, just giving them feedback and support in any way they needed. I've directed long form video projects, series, church series, designed creative settings and rooms, all the creative stuff that you go, that's a waste of money. I was the person who wasted the money. So that's who I am. And I'm here with my good friend Mike. So take it away.
Well, my name's Mike. I have been in and out of ministry for the last 30 years. I think I started interning when I was 16, youth pastor when I was 18, and about 18 years ago, we started a company just to help churches as they think through growth and strategy. How do you put those things together? And so I'm in Fort Worth, Texas, and Jay and I work together as we connect churches to not only ways to grow, but thinking through the systems and what's going to last for long-term growth. So we're excited to be here today, excited to talk to you all, and definitely excited for the conference.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a great time. And you mentioned you started and you both serve with the Elements Group. Tell us a little bit more about what you guys do and how y'all have been doing ministry until now. We're in 2025.
Yeah, we started this idea, back in the day with how can we help our friends after being a youth pastor, associate pastor, all the different roles. I was staff on church plant. We did a church plant. I was also at a mega church. So in all of those years of being in ministry, when I stepped out, it was like, hey, how can we go help our friends that are still in ministry? We've had some success. We can help them think through some of the ways to grow. And so we started out early on doing capital stewardship campaigns, helping them think through not only could their church raise that money, but how much would they need and what would the growth potential off of that be, and started putting strategies together. And as we had more friends all across the United States, we would help them think through communication pieces. How do we help them communicate better, a better message? And that's really where Jay comes in as we think through moving forward. Like, there's so many ways to connect with a community, and sometimes that becomes overwhelming. And so what we want to do is help you think through that for your community. Every church for the last 20 years that I meet with, the first thing that the pastor talks about is, we're real different. Our church is different in this community. And it's like, okay, well, let's identify what that difference is, and let's start building that strategy around that. And so the Elements Group really just started out of a way to, for me, just to help my friends with something that I had already learned, that we had already learned, and said, hey, I just figured this little piece of the puzzle out. Let me see if it works for you. And then we just started getting more and more clients in. And we're in a transition at the Elements Group where we're moving into two different sections. We're starting a new company, Jay and I are, that is called Green Roof. And Green Roof is separate, and he'll talk a little bit about that in a second. Elements Group, what we like to do is we like to do a lot of the communication pieces that have to do with growth and strategy. But Green Roof is a little bit more in depth on that. And so, Jay, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'd love to. To be clear, I wasn't there 30 years ago when Mike
I,
started this.
I
I'm
picked
much
him up when
younger.
he was
Dates
5.
well.
Right,
So
I'm much
well.
younger. I'm much younger. But in all
I'm going to start
seriousness,
telling people I've just been doing this for 10 years so that they don't
right,
think I'm
yeah,
super old.
right. Um, I'm the one spreading the Mike's old campaign. So, but yeah, to his point, that is kind of where I come in. To the picture in the fold is, like I said, my background was, specifically large church, right? Which means you have certain opportunities, and certain circumstances and situations that the reality is the majority of the ministry world can't relate to, right? When it comes to creative expression or certain larger projects creatively we were able to take on. And so what it did was it developed a connection point, and a really interesting barometer for me to relate to churches of that size and smaller, right? And so a lot of people would look at a ministry that's larger and go, oh, we want the LED screens and we want the AR elements where, there's a projected this. And it's like, hey, man, you don't really need that, right? Like, you actually don't need those sorts of things. And so as I connected with Mike, um, Green Roof really is about helping churches of all sizes think about ways to grow in a certain way that would challenge them currently, but also be something that could be sustained for longer, right? And so the like markety buzzword you want to connect to that is like innovation, right? And so
Mhm.
a lot of people would hear me come to you, Nate, and be like, hey, I'm all about innovation. And they're like, hey, I don't want anything, I'm not trying to buy. It's like, well, innovation isn't invention, right? We're not making something new. We're just taking what you have and orienting it in such a way that it works for you in a different time, in a different space, in a different continuum, right? And so Green Roof really is meant to help people go, hey, the answer isn't let's throw a lot of money at it. The answer is within the confines of what we have, how can
Yep.
we orient your organization, your church, your staff, whatever it may be, um, for success and growth and actual connection, which is what people are looking for more than ever. And we do that. Obviously, Mike is from, as you hear me talk, the more practical one. I can be in the head in the sky in the clouds, but whether it's creative, financial, organizational leadership, those are the kind of areas that we're trying to help people innovate and all in the name of, at the end of the day, connection. So
Amen. Well, as you guys hear a little bit about what these friends do, man, you can just hear why we're super excited that they're going to be joining us at the Connect conference. As we've been talking for the last several years, just networking and learning from each other. It was really clear from when we started talking that we share a common burden, and that is to serve churches and help them meet new people and really help church leaders, continue to grow in their effectiveness at meeting new people in some new ways. And so, man, there's so much that I want to unpack there. I'd love, before we jump into some of the practical things that we might could share with church leaders, I'd love to just kind of highlight what you guys are going to be sharing at the Connect conference. So tell us a little bit about what you'll be talking about and how that can be helpful for church leaders who are in attendance.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we're excited to talk about is everybody's talking about AI and what that looks like for the church. And over the years, our heart has always been as we go to meet with churches is identify their DNA. What has God called them to for such a time as this in that community? And then take those tools and connect that. And AI is becoming more and more so relevant and so important. And obviously, there's a couple of different directions that pastors go. Sometimes we meet pastors and they're like, I'm just not ready for that yet. That's just not, I'm not ready. And sometimes we go and they're like, hey, we want to implement this. Give us the greatest tools, give us the things.
Mm.
We're on a bit of a listening tour right now, Jay and I, where we spend time talking with pastors and staff. Did one a couple of weeks ago up in Cincinnati and just sat down with them and talked through their what they're going through, some of the struggles that they're facing. And as we sit there and as we were having these listening tours and listening to staff, we always get to the same place,
Mm.
the place of staff being at full capacity. And this is something that's been on both of our hearts for such a long time, coming from the experiences that we came from where we were at max capacity, that we didn't feel like our pastors or leadership necessarily understood where that max capacity is. And when we think about AI and we think about this idea of exactly what Jay said, everybody's looking for connection, authentic connection. We start to figure out, there's three pieces of this. There's a staff that is stressed out and at capacity. There is genuine need and people in the community that needs connection. And then there's this AI component. And we think about how do we get those things connected enough, because there's so many things that AI is doing and connecting us to that allows us to really connect with people more, because what we're dealing with is a nationwide epidemic of staff being completely at capacity. So how do we take some things off of their plate so that they can go be relational, so that they can go and connect with people? Well, we are finding and it's happening very quickly, it's happening more and more, that if we leverage AI in a very healthy, specific way, that can free up some of our staff members to begin to get back to what they love to do, what they were called to do, and that is to connect with people. And so these listening tours that we're going on, we're doing everything through the lens of how do we help this church? And it's interesting because it keeps coming back to this idea of there's so much that AI could do to help them. There's these hacks that are happening. And I'll let Jay speak a little to this, just because both of us have a lot to say about it. But there's so much that AI can do at this point. But as we were preparing for the conference and beginning to pray and ask God, okay, give us the direction that you want us to share at the conference, we were quickly struck with the idea that the tools that we bring here in September, at almost the beginning of October, those tools they're not even there's gonna be so many more tools in January. So part of it is really the heart of AI and thinking through with the pastor, sitting the staff down, sitting the leadership down and saying, let's get to a place where we understand that this is a tool that we can use to help us. Let's think through that, because that's not just a given. That's something that every pastor has to hurdle. And because I am so old, we dealt with this a few years ago when we started to automate our tithe and offerings. So for those of you that are listening that have been around a minute, we've done this a few times where technology has come and all of a sudden we're going, wait a minute, is this God? Is this something we should do? And so in the beginning, we were talking about the value of automating your tithe, giving your credit card on a form. Now that sounds ridiculous now in 2025, but at the time that was a thing. Parishioners did not want to give over that credit card. They didn't understand the value of automating their tithe, of putting that first. And so as we educated and as we brought them through that system, there was an understanding that you didn't have to take away the spiritual significance of having a moment where you come with your tithe and offerings, offer it up to God. You could still have that moment. You could still have that holy moment, but it could be automated in a way that you weren't having to worry about it. And so AI is a little that way, where we're having to look at it through the lens of it being a tool to help us. So Jay, I just took a ton of stuff, but I know
Yeah.
you have a few pieces
He
there.
took all my material. I typed it up and he just read it all. Jeez, no. Um, I mean, he's right. Like there, all of what he said is correct. I think more than anything, what people know about AI, whether they're fearful of it or they're encouraged by it, is it's all based and driven by the intention, right? And like anything you do in your life or surrounding ministry, intention is what matters, right? When I was on my church staff, we had I don't know if the churches you guys have been around or whatever but we would have like a theme at different points, right? So there would be like a common phrase on our staff at a given time, and we went through a couple different iterations of it. But when I first came on, it was trust versus suspicion. And I feel like the ethic behind it was, trust your teammates, trust the people around you and who you're like linked at arms with before you're just going to choose to be suspicious to start, right? And Matthew 15, all this stuff, right? Um, I hope that's the right verse. I probably sound stupid, but the whole thing around AI is people are very suspicious of people's intentions with it, right? And the idea of, data and information, all these things. And as me and Mike have kind of circled the block on everything, and like he said, just found that, we can present whatever we want today to you. A lot of those things and insights we might have will be obsolete come January, right? From this recording to the next. And so more than anything, to me, as we've been sifting through all this stuff, AI in regards to ministry is all about connection. And you have to trust the intention of people, right? So I sit on this call, um, only being concerned about connecting with people, right?
Yeah.
I can't be the only person listening or on this call who at a certain point in their ministry life and tenure has been the person who's like, hey, I am just not a very good people person. I was hired to do the task I was hired to do. But when it comes to actually engaging with people, when it comes to actually talking to the people who are going to be in here on Sunday, it's awkward. I don't want to. I don't know how, right? And so I'm missing on that connection. And I'm a lot of times missing on really what is the point of me devoting my life to working in ministry? Is to serve those in need. And one of the biggest needs we need right now is connection, right? A simple conversation. And so as we learn more about AI, we learn about its capacity, the way it can help us, like Mike is saying, with us being at capacity in an administrative way and all those sorts of things. And as people then get more fear about, oh, my job could be taken because of um, AI, or my job will have to change because of AI. I think, especially in ministry, more than maybe any other field, AI gives us an opportunity to automate and get really efficient at the administrative work and all that sort of stuff for the purpose of getting our time back, right? In a way of like AI can help you be more present with your family, right? Because that can be a problem sometimes when we're in ministry. AI can help you have more time back to actually engage with our community to get a better sense of what people need, right? And so more than ever, I even said this to Mike earlier, is like, in my eyes, AI is imperative to all of us doing our jobs in the
Yeah.
best way possible because it gives us an opportunity to become face to face, right? I'm sitting with you, not worried about if this email will be sent and all this and all the whatever. It's being taken care of. I already did all that stuff. I'm here with you, right? And it's this idea of like a lot of churches make a big deal about signage and people seeing it always of like, oh, like you're welcome here. Hey, you're wanted here. You're this. You don't need signage if there's a literal person there to tell you that, right?
Man,
And it's this idea that as we embrace AI more and we learn to trust it versus being suspicious, we're going to have an opportunity to actually connect with more people, which at the end of the day is the goal and what we're looking for. So
I think one of the things that's really interesting to me as I look back and I see all of the different seasons of culture that have come to church, I think about social media. And social media came out, and the church was very suspicious, and they didn't know how to leverage it. And in the beginning, it was just, a way for you to find your high school boyfriend, right? Girlfriend. That was the whole kind of messaging, and there was a real concern about it. And I remember being on staff at Life Church during that time when it was coming out, and we really took a different approach, and we just said, what we're going to do is we're going to leverage this to communicate the things that we feel like God's doing on a Sunday here, or a weekend out to the community. And there was a mind shift. And again, one of the things that doesn't even sound, sounds like that's just normal. That's the way we do church today. But there was a moment where everybody was suspicious. We didn't know what the power of it was. We didn't know exactly the direction of it. And as we started putting that out, I remember very clearly the leadership saying, hey, it feels like we're redeeming this part of Facebook, because what we're doing is we're sending out things that we feel like God's putting on our heart to share with this community. We're using it, we're leveraging, and it was free. And now we have the same opportunity as we think through tools and very specific things, like we used to have to hire companies to come in and go through all of our financials and our data and the number of people that come to church, if we wanted to raise X amount of dollars, we had to hire a company that would come in and do all of that for us. Imagine the savings today as we think through raising a million, 5 million, 10 million, whatever it is, where now we're able to take all of that data and we're able to insert it into AI, and we're able to understand, hey, this is how much this church can raise. This is their potential. Can you imagine taking that and leveraging that? Now what we were paying a company 4, 5, 6% of whatever we were trying to raise, now we no longer have to pay for that. We have a resource that's free. So at the conference, I think that's one of the things that we want to do is really hit this tension between what is God doing in your local community and how can AI help that? How can we put that together so that at the end of the day, we have that margin in our finances, in our staff, in our personal lives, that we can go out and tell people about Jesus. And so we're going to be talking about some pretty specific things, but we're also going to be talking about the philosophy of it, because I do think there's a season, a moment that we have to capture where we have to check our hearts, check our understanding, trust that our motivation is that we genuinely want to reach people for Jesus. And then we want to start putting some things, those tools to build some strategies so that we can go win our communities. So those are some of the things that we're going to be sharing at the conference.
Man, I'm pumped for it. I'm like, okay, let's just dive into it right now because I'm like, man, this is going to be so helpful to I know the church leaders that are listening and the church leaders who are going to be with us at the Connect conference. And just to put it in perspective of the whole conference, the theme of our conference is building life-giving relationships. And so over the first day and a half, we're going to really unpack three groups of people that are in every church. That's moms, that's volunteers, that's Gen Z. They're there. They're in every church. And then where this topic is going to play out is at the end where we talk about what is the most effective way to meet those people, exactly what they're talking about. One of those ways is by making sure that we leverage the tools that are in front of us. One of those being AI and the limitless world that's out there. And so Mike and Jay are just going to give us a great way to practically take some things back to our churches that could really transform the way that we do ministry, not by taking anyone out as they said, but actually allowing us as church leaders to get back to doing what we love most, and that's being face to face with people. Because as we look at the people groups that we're going to study, they're all looking for something that's the same, and that's a relationships that's life-giving,
Absolutely.
that we can ultimately point them to the most life-changing relationship that they could have, which is a relationship with Jesus Christ. So, anyways, man, that's so exciting. I know this is going to be a really awesome topic for the lead, and I'm going to kind of put you guys on the spot here.
No
So,
problem.
okay,
Please,
um,
please.
for the church leader who's just like, you know what? I just can't wait for the Connect conference to get one of those ideas. You mentioned a great example of how we could use AI to help us with capital campaigns. I think that's really relevant as you think of church leaders. What would be one just like maybe teaser of a practical takeaway that AI could maybe change the way that we're doing ministry? Like
Well,
a
I think,
takeaway for our listeners.
yeah, I think one of the things that's interesting to me in talking with a pastor a couple months ago is he wanted to develop his board leadership a little bit better. And he understood that he had a curriculum that he wanted to take them through. But as he was taking them through, it didn't feel like it was landing on them.
Mm.
And him and I started talking. And I said, well, how many board members do you have? He said, I have 5 board members. I said, okay, and what do each one of these board members do? And he told me each one of them and what they did. And so what we did is we took the curriculum and we took the profile of the board members and we just put it through AI and just said, hey, there's some, we didn't put names and numbers and all of those things, but just the job titles. Talk to us, write us a curriculum on how we can communicate with these guys just a little bit better. This is just super pragmatic, super just 2 things putting together spit out, this nice little form for him. And what it did is it gave him some communication pieces that the board members all of a sudden were listening for, and they became more engaged. And he was able to take them through that curriculum, and he was communicating at a higher level because he had some help. Once again, using AI as a resource to help the pastor to communicate to his board members, using some of those typical languages that those board members were used to, and connecting in a way that they could receive it. All of a sudden, he went from this was just another, lesson kind of thing. All of a sudden, it was connecting with them in a way that they had a deeper buy-in. They were raising their leadership level to another level. So there's a few things like that are just super, super practical, that I think we want to share some of that. And then we kind of want to come a little bit further out and talk a little bit about some of the larger systems in the church. Because as we think through this, your assimilation process, what does AI look like to help you assimilate people into your church? That's an exciting thing to think about, because as we have been consulting with churches over these years, assimilation is a big piece of that. Like they kind of have an idea, they've gone to a conference and they've gotten some pieces, but how do we personalize that? How do we put the DNA of the church? How do we put the DNA of what God is calling us to do in that community into that assimilation process? So those are some of the things that we're going to be sharing.
Man, it's gonna be good. I cannot wait to be a part of that. I cannot wait to hear how this is practically implemented in churches across the country because of y'all's investment. So, before we wrap up our time together, as you guys know, our audience is primarily church leaders, and with church leaders, we know there are some really high highs, and there are also some really really low lows. Walking through ministry as you guys have, you've probably experienced both of those. What's an encouragement or a final word that you could give to our audience just as they experience the day to day of being in ministry?
Yeah, I think I mean I would give two of them. One is to the idiom that Mike uses a lot from scripture, such a time as this, what a time to be alive, right? Like the conversation we're having right now is hilarious. Like we're sitting here talking about how can this automated AI stuff work to help us connect people with Jesus. Like the Jetsons needed Jesus, right? Like Iron Man needed, like all this, like we're living in the era
Yeah,
of things flying and robots, and it could be for invasion or to help us clean the house, right? Like it's just craziness, right? We're there. And so what an opportunity and an option to look at the times is not a matter of, oh, everything's gone awry, but no, everything is actually at our fingertips. Like Mike said, these are free resources and tools that listening to this, getting off of this, you can utilize. I've used it
absolutely.
to help my golf game. Did it help? That's for others to decide. But like it, right? Like it's in this way of, it gets to know you. I make jokes. My wife is a realtor, and she'll use it for different marketing remarks or different things like that. And she'll say, "Oh, it like knows me now. Like it knows my name and certain characteristics. So when I ask it a question, it will respond like Mike was saying in a way that I respond to." And as a husband, I'm like, I don't know if you should keep talking to this guy. But as her actual friend, I'm going, that's so useful. That's so helpful, right?
Yeah,
And her day to day, she's able to knock things out on the to-do list, cross things off that normally would take her hiring a person, that normally would take her extra time she may not have because she's really busy. Um, and it's giving her not only that sense of accomplishment, but also it's allowing her to stay plugged in, connected in all the different ways she needs. And the other thing I would say too is just don't be so discouraged, right? Like me and Mike, our big thing is growth, right? And growth is only for the purpose of connection, right? It's not just having butts and seats. It's not just a dollar amount in the bank, but really doesn't help us here. It's all about connecting with people, right? And
absolutely.
we're in an age and time where people my age, you talked about Gen Z, um, are just different. They're reverting back to older ways and methods of connection,
Yeah,
right? And so that we've been fully optimized currently for a previous generation who did not want to connect the same way. And so we're unlearning a lot of things. And so there's a lot of grace there. And I think part of the unlearning is just really taking a step back and seeing just the vastness of opportunity. And I call it like a minefield of opportunity for connection when it comes to younger people, when it comes to anybody who, whether they've heard of Jesus or not, more people ever are open to hope, right? They're more than ever open to connection
Absolutely.
and face-to-face interactions, conversation, learning how to talk to the opposite sex, learning how to talk to people about what really matters to them, their feelings, right? Like being a modern man, it's not just like I provide a living. It's like, well, you have to have more to it too, right? That's really important. And like be vulnerable,
Mm.
talk, whatever. And these tools help people with that. And these tools will allow us more room to explore those sorts of things. And so it's really broad. It needs to be honed in certain areas and ways as we shape a conversation around ministry and helping those three core groups. But I think this is the time I'd want to be in when it comes to
Absolutely.
serving Jesus and trying to get people to hear us out. So that would be my encouragement to a church leader at the moment.
Absolutely.
Well, friends, thank you again so much for your time. We love getting to partner alongside of you guys as we serve local churches together and work towards the mission of helping local churches meet new people in a bunch of new ways.
Absolutely.
So we're looking forward to the Connect conference. To the listeners out there, if you've already registered, amazing. If you haven't registered yet, make sure to visit connect-ministries.com/connect-conference and purchase your tickets today. And you'll get to hear from amazing leaders like Mike and Jay, and we'll get to learn new ways how we can connect with people, build life-giving relationships with them, and get them involved in our local church. So we look forward to learning more here soon, and we'll see you guys real soon in Brentwood.